Oh, what's up GameLeaper? The Jizz. Hope your day's going well. Now, some interactions between certain champions and items, and runes for that matter, have been straight up broken over the years, and this is not going to change for pre-season 12. So what you are about to witness in this video, we have 10 broken champion and item rune mechanics that will break the game legit, and you will be able to see this in action because the Jizz has gone into practice tools and even custom games to show you what you are in for. And no doubt some of these will probably get hotfix nerfed because they are so obviously OP. Now, all of this pre-season content we have already done. This is not going to stop. So to stay perma up to date with everything season 12, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and spread the word. Spread the Jizz. So let's get into it and start by talking about the new lethality item Axiom Arc. And the reason this is on this countdown is because the item's passive is so absurd. So when you get a kill or an assist basically, you refund 25% of your ultimate's cooldown. So I think this is your first item on champions like Zed, Kiana, Talon, Rengar, these AD assassins. It could be insane. Now obviously the more enemy champions there are in those fights, the better it's going to be. Because think about it, if you can get 4 kills and or 4 assists, your ultimate is going to be back off cooldown. So if you're playing a Kiana or a Talon in particular, an AD assassin who will actually benefit from the stats this item is giving you, because your ultimate is AoE, it's going to hit a lot of champions, and you can just often start fights with your ultimate, so by the end of that fight, it might be back up again. But this will still be useful for the early game as well. Once you complete this item around the 10-minute mark, just getting 1 kill on your lane opponent, remember 25%, you're getting back a massive chunk of your ultimate's cooldown. So instead of using it in the mid lane, you might just run bot and use it again because it's back up already. It just gives you so many more opportunities to actually use your ultimate, and that's what we all want. And as you can see in this example against these two challenger players, my Axiom Arc is going to refund 20 seconds off the cooldown. So when I kill this Lucian, it goes from 80 seconds to 60, and when I eventually kill Darius, this goes down to a 30-second cooldown. This would normally be 80 seconds still. And I'll just show you one clip here where I'm like maxed out in items and levels, and yes, I have a bug here which makes me permanently invis for some reason, and even though this is a bit of an exaggeration, you have to remember, this is just me against 4 challenger players. It's not like I have teammates dealing damage as well, so to be honest, it will be even easier to get if your teammates are nearby because they'll be giving you those assists. So when I engage with my ultimate here, you can see that after 3 to 4 kills, it's back off cooldown and I can use it on the final champion, and that's one of the best pentakills I've ever seen. But in all seriousness guys, this looks seriously OP, and if you don't play an AD assassin, I would strongly recommend doing so you can win your games when 11:23 hits the rift. Now the next champion and item interaction I want to show you, this one's pretty cool right here. So this involves the new mage mythic Crown of the Shattered Queen. So if you're playing someone like Syndra, Lux, a ranged AP mid laner, this item is unreal into champions with burst damage. So if you're against a Zed, a Yone, a Yasuo, a Kha'Zix, maybe they have a Tristana AD carry, you're going to block their initial damage against you, and this is up to 75%. Now also, while you're safeguarded, you're also gaining AP. So you're a very scary champion when you have this little Malzahar passive around you. Now the example I want to show you, watch this. When I run into Tristana and Renekton here, you can see that I take barely any damage. This is because that safeguard passive lingers for around 1.5 seconds after that initial damage comes in, and remember, all of that damage is reduced, so I barely take any, and these champions waste their cooldowns when I have all of mine up, and after this I can just kill them. So this has so much application because lots of people just play assassins and high damage dealers, and because damage is so high at the moment, this would be an amazing item for those ranged mid laners. Now next up, honestly, this could be the most cooked combination of the countdown. So what we're building here guys is Titanic Hydra and Demonic Embrace. Now on Senna and Tahm Kench in particular, I've tested this out in a practice tool and it just looks broken. Now of course you can pair this with Frostfire Gauntlet because the HP is the key here. Remember, Titanic Hydra, the more bonus HP you have from your items, this is getting transferred into AD. Same with Demonic Embrace, it's just the AP version. The more HP you have, this is getting converted into AP. Now for Senna and Tahm Kench, you have AP scalings in their kit. This is going to be absurd. And remember, both of these champions can make use of the Hydra Cleave passive, which will proc off your auto attacks. So look on Senna here. When I auto attack this dummy with the new Frostfire Gauntlet, which is dealing AoE magic damage, this dummy next to it takes Demonic Embrace's burn damage. So what we're trying to think about here is how applicable this would be in like an actual game. Well, obviously this would be really applicable because in those late game team fights when you do have 3 to 4 items, how can you not proc this damage? Your auto, your Q, your ultimate, all of this will proc Demonic Embrace's damage, and this is why I think Senna with this setup is just going to be busted. Now same thing with Tahm Kench. The damage you do because of the HP you have, which is getting pumped into AP, with your Q, with your passive, and then with Frostfire Gauntlet, Tahm Kench is already so good, this is just going to make him one of the most annoying champions in the entire game. And what do you guys think of this, by the way? Because I think it just looks straight up broken. Now speaking of straight up broken, watch this right here. This is a level 1 Darius with the new lethal tempo. And the new lethal tempo, guys, if you didn't already know, is giving you attack speed each time you attack an enemy champion. So on Darius, the reason why this is going to be so good is because your W, remember, which is on a 5-second cooldown at level 1, very, very low, this will actually count as a stack. And because you're getting 15% attack speed for each stack, you get 90% when this is maxed. And what's also amazing for melee champions is you're getting extra attack range. So you can see when I'm max stacked here, I don't have to stand as close to this dummy to actually attack it. And it's also important to know that each time you do attack the enemy champion, you keep all of these stacks. You can see the timer above my HUD. So this just looks so broken on so many melee champions who would actually use the attack speed in the early game. So Trundle is another one, as you can see here, because your Q will actually count as a stack as well. And the same thing with Set. A Set if he starts Q or if he starts E, and we really can't discount Aurelia or Jax or Tryndamere. So there are so many bruisers and fighters in the top lane who are going to relish this new lethal tempo. So this is another one that's going to be super OP. Now perhaps the biggest talking point, guys, of the preseason is the new rune First Choice, which is giving you gold for each bit of damage you deal to an enemy champion if you hit them first. Now for sure this is going to be really good on some champions, but the two champions I want to focus on here are Misfortune and Lux, and the reason being for your mid and late game ultimates. So if you think of a Misfortune bullet time, it's lasting 3 seconds, which is the same time the debuff from First Choice lasts. So all of that extra damage you're dealing as your ultimate, this is all going to become gold. Now these dummies, of course, they don't have any armor, so I'm getting more gold than what I normally would, but you can see just how broken this would be. Even in the early game, if you were to get a max ult off and just hit even 2 enemy champions, you're going to get hundreds of gold from this. And this idea applies to Lux as well. Now the reason I think it would be even more broken on Lux is because running First Choice, which is the inspiration tree in your runes, you're not really giving up that much. As Misfortune, you are an AD carry and you are giving up fighting stats because you're not going precision. But as Lux, you could definitely make this work. Remember, at rank 1, your ultimate is only 60 seconds, so using this off cooldown to damage enemy champions with your First Choice, you're just going to accrue so much gold during a game. Now next up, guys, we have another mid lane build, and this is really for Malphite and Victor, and of course you can use this on other champions, so any mage who has slows in their kit. So if you use Everfrost, which is 2800 gold, 400 gold cheaper, and then the New Horizon Focus, which is proccing off slows, so not just hard CC now. So if you think of Malphite with his Q, if you think of the Everfrost route you might build, and if you think of Victor upgrading your W actually first, okay, you might give up a bit of damage because your Def Ray upgraded is so good, but you will be permanently proccing Horizon Focus's passive because your Q and E will be slowing enemy champions. So I think these two, Malphite and Victor with Everfrost and Horizon Focus, could really abuse this when the new patch drops. Now another pretty interesting one coming in next, guys. This is Turbo Chem Tank with Ingenious Hunter, so that domination rune, and I think this is going to be super good on Singe. Now at the moment, in the current patch, without all these new changes, this is actually really good. But here's the thing, guys, Chem Tank is getting changed next patch, so you're not going to have the immolate burn damage, but what you are going to get is almost like a Dead Man's Plate auto attack, but with AoE. So when I hit this dummy here, you can see it's going to damage things around it. Now what's also important, if you look above my HUD, you get this auto attack when you have 100 stacks, and you stack this just by running around. Now the more movement speed you have, the quicker you will rack this up, and on Singe, because you have movement speed from Ghost, Chem Tank, Predator, and your ultimate, you can get so many procs of this new refuel passive off during a fight. And this is also without Ingenious Hunter stacked, which would work with this as well. So watch out for this and Singe next patch. Now another much talked about combination here, guys, is coming in next, and this is with the rune First Choice, which we talked about earlier with Misfortune and Lux's ultimate, but I want to talk about it here with champions with tick damage. So if we think of Malzahar with his E, if we think of Teemo with his mushrooms and his poison, when you go up to an enemy champion and you press your E on them as Malzahar, or if you just auto Q them as Teemo, this is just free gold. Now it's a little harder to do on Malzahar during the early game for sure, because you're actually kind of short range and the enemy champion probably won't be that stupid. But if you think about it in the late game, when you have Leandri's Anguish, Ryla's Crystal Scepter, Demonic Embrace, when you have enough ability haste and they're using your ultimate with all of the rest of your abilities, the damage you're going to deal over 3 seconds is going to be nuts, and you're going to get so much gold from this. And remember as well, guys, the burn from Leandri's and Demonic Embrace, this is going to deal more damage, which equals more gold. Now for Teemo, you can definitely abuse this as well as anyone in the laning phase, which is why I really like it. Because as Teemo in the top lane, you're one of the few ranged champions and you beat pretty much everyone. So you're always going to be harassing enemy champions and getting access to this rune and getting access to the extra gold. But what's also pretty cool for Teemo, in the late game, when your First Choice is going to be on a lower cooldown and you have your shrooms around the map, it's almost like you get passive gold just from random enemy champions walking over your mushrooms and proccing this extra damage and therefore the extra gold. So I think these tick damage champions with First Choice, this is just another combination we have to think about heading into the preseason. An ultimate champion and item combination, guys, this is very similar to that Demonic Embrace Praise, and Titanic Hydra one I showed you with Senna and Tahm Kench. But what we're going here is Frostfire Gauntlet still, Demonic Embrace, and then the new Abyssal Mask. Now for champions who have CC and Engage, so if you think of Zac and Malphite, this setup is going to be crazy because the new Abyssal Mask is reducing the magic resist of nearby enemy champions, and because Demonic Embrace with that new passive is going to benefit from Frostfire Gauntlet's HP, the damage you deal and the tankiness you have, it will be unstoppable. Like, it just looks so broken. So really good item combination there, but maybe a better one is the last one we have to talk about, guys, in this video, and this is with the new Tier of the Goddess tank item, Fimbulwinter. So at max stacks, it goes from Winter Soldier, which is 2,600 gold, into Fimbulwinter. So you're getting HP, mana, and you're getting ability haste. So for a champion like Nasus, this is unreal. But here's the thing as well, guys. When you immobilize or slow an enemy champion, with your Wither, for example, you are going to get a shield based off the mana you have. But this shield is almost doubled if there is more than one enemy champion nearby. Now, this is on an 8-second cooldown, but maybe there's a way you can reduce this by going Cosmic Insight in your runes. But what's also interesting here, guys, is going Serylda's Grudge on Nasus, because this means that any ability you throw out, so your Q, your E, your W, this is going to slow the enemy champion, of course, because of the Grudge's passive. So you will actually get that shield just by using your Q during fights and your E as well. So that's pretty good for Susan, but I also want to mention Ryze here. I thought this only worked for melee champions, and it should do, but for Ryze at the moment, it's proccing off of your W. And for Ryze, because this item is giving HP, mana, and ability haste, 3 really good stats for you, and remember, you don't really need AP because mana is your damage. Even though this will probably change and they'll fix this, I think it could be really OP on Ryze as well. So those were the 10 most broken item and champion and rune combinations, guys, for the next patch. If you did enjoy the video, remember to leave a like down below, and until tomorrow's video, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss it. This has been the Jizz. Oh, and also make sure to check out the GameLeap website, linked in the description and comment section.